Welcome, Arturo, to Uplift. I appreciate you being here. And yes, for those of you that don't know, Arturo was my professor back in IE University in a public speaking class, and he's also been on a podcast that I started at IE. So this one is just going to be delving deep into public speaking, communication, and yeah, the entire sequence. So thank you very much, Arturo, again. Before we begin, could you give a little bit of a background of yourself? I know you do a lot of things. You're a speaker, you're an author, you're a professor. So just a short intro of yourself before we get into the questions.
Sure, of course. I started teaching by coincidence. I think it's very interesting when you think about purpose. It's like that it doesn't come out of the blue, and then there are moments in your life in which maybe you go through a rough patch, and because of the situation, because of the context, you need to do different things. You need to move on, and once you start doing those things, you realize that's maybe your calling, no? Something you love doing it. And I never thought about teaching in my life. And I like studying, I like reading a lot, I like analyzing things, but never about teaching. And then I discovered a new passion. And before that, I was an executive and I work in the travel industry. I was a general manager, I ran hotels. But then, after 13 years ago, I decided to focus on my teaching and collaborating with different business schools. But now, and also not only teaching, but also training executives and working with companies.
Amazing. And
Yeah.
it's quite a shift, right? To go from general manager to a professor. So what was like a trigger for you?
I think, well, first of all, to all of the general managers, all of the managers in the world, I strongly recommend them to teach. When you teach,
Mm.
you become a better leader. I think there are many things that teaching they're going to help you and they're going to be translated in your teams. One is flexibility, curiosity, and patience. And so you become a better leader. Actually, some companies they know these already. Like IDEO, one of the most creative companies in the world, they encourage their teams to teach. So part of the process.
True. And I also feel like when you teach something, you get better at what you're teaching yourself. So the concept becomes stronger in your
Yeah,
mind and the other people as well. Wonderful.
I
So
think teaching.
about
Yeah,
yes, please go ahead.
yeah. No, no. Go ahead. No, I was going to say about teaching and reading and writing a book. Okay, the process of writing a book is a process of synthesis. A process of teaching is more or less the same. Both things combined. They make you understand better the concepts.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
Into a little bit of public speaking and communication. I want to run this sequentially. So let's say that somebody has to give a speech or has to give a talk to a large group of people, maybe in a university, maybe, at their office. How would you recommend them to prepare effectively?
well. The first thing is that depending of the type of presentations you have, you really to put lots of if there's lots of effort or less, but there's gonna be a process of preparing. That's for sure. But whether this is gonna be like lots of preparing or more likely preparing, but so let's say that you have a presentation in which the stakes are very high. And you need to prepare it a lot because you're going to present in front of a board or in front of a big audience. I'm not going to say that your career is going to depend on that, no, but it's a really important presentation. I think at least you think it's a very important presentation. Now, the first thing you need to understand and you need to do is analyze who's your audience, who are you talking to? When I go with students or I go with my clients, who's my audience? Is it and when I talk about audience, could be also your boss. Is he more analytical? Is he more empathetic? What's the personality of your boss? No, because when you prepare, you start from that, the audience, and then you need to start thinking about your idea. And my advice in here is that you stick to one idea, which in so it's called a through line, a nuclear idea. So what do you want to communicate? Because if you're going to communicate too many ideas, too many important ideas, or too many nuclear ideas in the same message, that idea is going to lose power. So what's your main idea? Maybe the main idea is you want your boss to approve your budget. Okay, that's the main idea. So I need to prepare that. I need to convince him. I need to communicate to my audience that leadership is about multiplying talent. That's my nuclear idea. So from there, you start building a map. And then you go through the script. Maybe you can later talk about the script, but you should always start and work on a script. That doesn't mean that doesn't mean that you need to memorize anything. You ever memorize anything, but the script is going to help you, okay, to put your ideas in context.
Hmm.
Now, once you have the script, and by the way, you read the script in plain language, not in narrative fashion, you don't memorize. And
Yeah.
only there, I mean, and by the way, AI can help you in here, by the way, nowadays, but AI cannot do the whole script for you. Because if you think that the whole script, and I do it, I see it every day in my classes. We use a ChatGPT, we use AI, but we see those amazing presentations that they use AI in a wisely manner, instead of those that they kind of create the whole thing in a lazy manner with the script, which is more impacting, which is more engaging, which is more creative. Okay, now there's a combination between human and machine nowadays.
True.
Yeah. And then I say that the PowerPoint comes later, the last thing you do, and by the way, sometimes there's just not even a need for a PowerPoint. But let's say that there's a PowerPoint or whatever.
Hmm.
Okay, you have as visuals, and then you start rehearsing. That's the part you never should skip. Rehearsing. We could talk about rehearsing later if you like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I had to boil it down, you would say number one, know your audience, and then
Yeah.
adapt your entire presentation to your audience.
Yeah.
Um, and then you said number two was to focus on one idea and really boil it down to that one idea that you want to communicate to the audience. And number
Yeah.
three would be to rehearse
Yeah.
before you
Yeah.
present.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
In between, you should have to start working on your script. But by the way, the main
true.
idea, it is divided in sub ideas, but everything holds from a through line, a main idea.
Mm. And about AI, even like I use AI a lot as well, but the way I view it is as a
Mhm.
tool that can do the tasks that don't require a lot of creative input. So like, if I'm creating something, AI can do like the boring work, but like I feel like the creative work and the process of creating should be done by the person themselves. And that's when you, as you said, that then it's not you using AI in a lazy manner. It's you using AI as a tool, as an amplifier of your own
Yeah.
work.
Yeah. If I have you're completely right. I fully agree in here, but there's something that AI can do in terms of working on your creativity as well. For example, when I'm working on my script and then I'm thinking about, okay, I need a better analogy in here. I need a better metaphor in here.
Yeah.
Then I use AI, and then AI gives me lots of options, and I few times maybe I like all of the options, but it's like working on a brainstorming with AI, and then it's a constant iteration. And this is like, oh, all right, I never thought about that. I mean, I don't like how AI is given here the analogy, but then so you see, I'm building on AI's ideas, and then I can just continue my prompt, that interaction, and then I'm having a brainstorm session with ChatGPT.
Yeah,
This is how
exactly.
it works.
Exactly. And I think that can also take time and effort from your end. So
Mhm.
it's not all easy. Even if you
Oh
have
yeah.
I think you
No.
can go really deep and do
Mm.
some deep work with AI, and then your output will be, 2x, 3x better than it would be if you didn't use AI. Uh,
Definitely. I think
yeah.
AI nowadays, what it's doing for us is to avoid this moment of fear of the blank page.
Yeah, true. That
Mhm.
is true. I want to know your take about stories. So I know in a lot of public speaking and communication, everybody talks about the power of storytelling. What is your take on that?
That storytellings are a part of us, that is within our DNA. And the funny thing is that we are all storytellers, professional storytellers, if you'd like, anthropological storytellers, but we don't know. So, for example, your identity is based on stories you tell to yourself.
Mm,
Some people, they might refriend your story or contradict your story, but you are constantly telling stories about yourself. The moment you lie to yourself because there's a cognitive dissonant moment in which, maybe you had those beliefs, you preach those beliefs, as you do other things, then you rationalize things. You tell to yourself a story.
mhm,
But every day when you talk to your friends or your people, you are in a storytelling mode fashion. Hey, look at what happened to me at the bar. Imagine, I saw this. That's a story. That's an anecdote. That's a type of story. So we are constantly gossip. This is type of. So we are constantly storytelling, bringing stories. But okay, let's say that that doesn't mean that we are very technical, competent, in using the stories in an effective way. Because some people, because they don't know how to use their stories, they think because they speak good and they share things, it's enough. But stories have a minimal technique, all right, or a minimal methodology, and that's it. That's the funny thing.
mhm,
By the way, if you'd like to know how do you build your stories, there are many ways of doing that, but there are at least three, four aspects. It's just like first you need to start with a context. The
mhm,
context to start with a date, a place. Second, in every story you bring, there should be a moment of conflict.
mhm,
That moment of conflict is something that happens to us every day. This is like we solving problems. We have these expectations, but they didn't apply. They weren't fulfilled. We went through a rough patch. We had a vulnerable moment or situation. That's a conflict, which, by the way, puts us levels us, with the
mhm,
audience. When I present myself in a way that I share a personal story, I say, "Hey, this is what happened to me. I got fired, and because of that, I found another job." That's a moment in which you sound more credible, more authentic.
mhm,
Now, because you're sharing a conflict, a moment, then it is not about you playing the victim role because it doesn't work like that. It is about bringing a change. Okay, that conflict produced something onto you that changed you in a way. Now you have a different way of thinking, or you have a different attitude. You thought this way, now you're thinking about in a different way. And because of that, you share a message. And that's the most powerful. You always bring a story into your public speaking script or presentation because you want to share a message, and that message links to the nuclear idea.
mhm,
Otherwise, never bring a story for the sake of bringing stories.
mhm. I see that. So you'd say every story, if you want to build stories around your concept, you should have, context, you should have a moment of truth or a moment of conflict. And
Yeah,
then how did it change you so that you can inspire others to change or you can
yeah,
influence them to change.
I
And
agree.
then you can link that to your main focus. Okay.
You mentioned the moment of truth. Actually, it's a
Yeah,
moment of truth equals
true.
conflict. Every conflict is a moment of truth.
Right, right. Interesting. And
Yeah.
how do you go
And
about,
how
yeah?
do you?
Hmm. After you.
Yeah. Well, you were no, sorry. You are the interviewer here. I'm the
No, 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 no,
interviewee.
no. Please go. Please go on. Please
No,
go
you
on.
were gonna ask me, baby, what? How do you find your stories, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I read this author. He's amazing. He's one. I don't remember. He's from Australia. I mean, I read tons of books of storytelling, but I think this is the best one. And he talked about stories that are three types of stories. That's all. Okay, and he's very right. The first one is personal stories. This is personal stories about me. And by the way, you go through an interview, a job interview, the best way to present yourself is with a story. You can prepare those stories. The second one, and by the way, those stories, they always have a conflict moment, blah, blah, blah. The second one, it's about other people's story. I could talk about a story that happened to Jufra that everyone needs to know. The good thing in here is that, and the audience is going to understand, is that I don't necessarily say it happened to Jubra. It could say it happened to someone,
Hmm.
but because I want to protect his anonymity, I'm going to call him, or I'm not going to say his name. And the audience is going to understand. Or I could share a story about Steve Jobs or whomever. In companies, that's very effective because, this is what happens in the operational department. And I'm going to share a story what happens within in this unit. And because we sharing, okay, stories in here. And then the last one is other sources stories, which are the stories we find in everywhere in media, podcasts, or when we read a book. So, for example, when I teach, I bring lots of stories from this bucket, other sources stories. And the beauty thing in here is that we can bring something which is supposed to be analytical or logical, for example, a case study, and convert it into a story or a research,
Mm.
right? So we kind of communicate this in a more attractive way that we make it destroy.
Yeah, I like that idea. I think bringing other people's story also shows that, you've deeply read about a subject and you know other people's story about it, and then you link that to an idea. I don't know, I feel it makes a difference. Uh, I'm sure personal stories also make a difference, but I think when you add like other stories to it, it kind of makes the entire narrative more powerful
Yeah, yeah,
so that you can prove your
yeah,
point.
definitely. And there's a moment for everything. I would say that personal stories are the most powerful thing
Yeah.
within storytelling, but it's not always about you. And
Mm.
there's a moment within your presentation that you can bring other people's stories or other sources' stories.
Yeah, I like that. I'm gonna use that sometime. About let's say I'm presenting, in a few minutes. Oh, not in a few minutes. Let's take it a little, maybe even in a few days. I remember in our earlier podcast you spoke about the power of visualization, that you do maybe when you
Yeah,
rehearse or before you present. So can you
yeah,
elaborate a little bit on that and how it helps us?
sure. I think, and especially when there's a very important presentation, and actually, it's very interesting is that everyone fears public speaking. What do I mean by fear is that everyone is going to go through a stressful moment in public speaking. And even though you're very used to and you are very professional in this, there's always going to be a context that is going to be very different, and you're not used to. So you're going to be nervous. But being nervous is okay. You need to understand something. Being nervous is okay. It's part of the emotional regulation you need to work on. The problem is when you start labeling your nervousness, your stress, or your anxiety in a badly manner. And what happens in this moment is that you wanted to avoid, you are reinforcing it. Is it like when someone tells you, don't think about a white bird? Now you're gonna see white birds everywhere, right?
Hmm.
So um, suppression, thinking and emotional suppression, it doesn't work. Okay, so the very first thing you need to do is welcome your anxiety, and the best way to welcome your anxiety is through visualization. So if you have time, you can have you can do two types of visualization. What I call the first one is the negative visualization. Uh, Psychologists call it a strategic negativity. Basically, you're gonna sit on a meditative fashion on a chair or whatever. You can lay down if you'd like, and you are gonna breathe. You can close your eyes, and you're gonna visualize your speech, how you're speaking. But this visualization, because it's negative, you're gonna visualize that you're choking in public. You are really experiencing this moment that you've been thinking about it, no? Because the moment your boss said to you that you needed to prepare that you need to prepare a presentation, a very important presentation you're not used to, not at that moment, maybe it was like 2 months ago. It was a very like, oh my gosh, I'm not prepared for doing that. So okay, so bring that
Hmm.
into the visualization. Now you're gonna feel your anxiety in your body, in your chest, in your blood pressure. Now, this is the good thing. and this is an emotional regulation exercises, is that you need to focus your anxiety on first on a physical level. Physical level. The moment you focus your anxiety on a physical level, now you are calming your anxiety. It happens every time. It could happen on the spot, by the way. But now you're breathing, you are seeing this anxiety on your chest, but you are never judging your anxiety. You are not having this inner chat saying to yourself, "Oh shit, I'm nervous. Oh my gosh." No, because that's not visualization. Visualization is about breathing and about seeing yourself choking. And then visualizing this. I mean, you could do that for 10 minutes if you like. Then you go with the positive visualization, and this is now you are seeing yourself in a flow moment, like really in a moment of perfect performance, like you are really bringing your best and you are bringing all of the, and again, you feeling, and you are feeling and you're spotting those feelings on the physical level and you're breathing. Okay. Now it's important that in visualizational part you don't get in a, especially in the negative visualization, you don't get in a ruminative path.
Mm.
We ruminate, we bring our own stress when we get into a negative thinking and again, more negative thoughts. And on top of that, we go into a vicious spiral, which, kind of brings us more negative feelings. And then at the end, we could, completely choke, that happens. One of the reasons people they paralyze in public is because they are not used to it. Maybe they didn't do the negative visualization at the same time. So everything is new for them. They are there and they start getting anxious. The very few sessions you start speaking is the peak level of anxiety, and that's normal. But for them, because they are unprepared, because they didn't do this exercise, they aren't skillful to cope with
Mhm.
that. And they allow their mind to self-sabotage. Oh my gosh, I need to calm down. The worst thing you can say to yourself is, I need to calm down. The worst thing you can say to someone is, please calm down. Because the moment you say that, they're going to get more nervous, even
Mhm.
also to yourself. So that's it. Now they aren't prepared to cope with those. They don't have resources. And then, cha, now cortisol levels go pretty high. And then they go from a moment of, we could say, positive arousal, positive stress to completely distress. And then they choke. And everything in your mind, all of your working memory disappears because you're having a perfect amygdala hijack.
Mm. I see.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think the visualization, the negative and the positive, also trains your nervous system so that you know what could happen. You know the
yeah,
bad that could happen, and you know that what the good that could happen as well. So like when you go into the experience, it's not something that is absolutely new for you. It is something that you've already rehearsed in the past. So
right.
then I think your body and your mind kind of know that, if it goes wrong, it could go this way. If it goes right, it could go this way. Of course, you're trying to make it right and trying to do your best, but I just feel it's not super new for you if you visualize it before.
That's right. It's just about being prepared.
True.
That's it. Just getting yourself into the process to be prepared for those moments. And yeah, so you are not caught out of surprise.
True. And also rehearsal. So I like to practice a lot. I mean, not a lot, but I like to practice a good bit before any presentations or things like that. But I feel like there's this point where you practice, but then you go overboard with practicing and rehearsal because you're anxious or you're stressed. What is
Yeah,
the right amount of
yeah,
practice
yeah,
that you would
yeah.
recommend?
Well, that's very personal because there's some personality differences in here. Like people are very perfectionists.
Yeah.
I think my message it goes to those people, but you don't want to be too relaxed on the other front, okay, and the other side. But that people that they want to nail the perfect presentations, the first message I need to give in here, there's no perfect presentation. The moment you're thinking on the on the perfect presentation, you won't have the perfect presentation. In fact, you could, you know, uh, self-sabotage your presentation because of that. Now, there's no perfect presentation. That's one thing you need to understand. That's why I don't like public speaking to a point when it gets too technical. Because public speaking is about bringing your passion and trying to convince your audience with that idea that you think is very important. And I don't care how you put your hands in that moment, whether you put the hand in a pocket or whether you stutter, you forget, or you just had a micro lapse. I don't care. I don't care how you start. I care how you finish, how you end the presentation, how throughout your presentation you brought your best confidence and passion.
Mm,
Now, I think rehearsal is important. And I am going to say that I rehearse, especially when there's a type of presentation I'm not used to, or an audience is different to me. And I rehearse, and it's very important to rehearse, let's say, in front of the mirror is in front, what do we say in front of the mirror? It's not literally in front of the mirror, but you speak out loud and you go there and you want all of the anxiety and all of the mistakes to happen there.
mm,
Okay, so don't worry about bringing lots of mistakes in the rehearsal moment because this is where you want to have lots of mistakes. Now, this is very difficult for people that are too perfectionist, but that's just part of the process. So you need to do that. Then there's a second rehearsal or a third rehearsal. You do it in front of your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, or your friends, and you can also record yourself. I have lots of resources to do that. But always bring your presentation out loud because the presentation you're thinking is completely different to the presentation you are bringing out.
mm.
And you need to realize that.
True. Yeah, I like that a lot. I mean, I mean, we used to have tons of projects at IE University, a lot of group projects, and I think whenever we used to rehearse as a group and say it out loud because when you get things out, you understand if there are any gaps in your logic, any gaps in understanding, any, misconceptions or any, I don't know, hindrances in the presentation, and then you can work forward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And what would you recommend to do a few minutes before the presentation? Because even a few minutes before a presentation, or maybe half an hour before, everyone thinks that, they have to rehearse more or do this or do that. But I mean, that's my belief is that maybe you should do something different where you try to calm yourself down instead of rehearsing more or being in that state. What is your take on it?
I don't think there's a perfect recipe for everyone. That every person is different. But let's say that my recommendation, or at least what it works for me, is that let's say that I work a lot on my presentation now. So 25 minutes extra is not going to make a big difference. And I don't think they're going to be well invested if I'm still rehearsing in the very last minutes. No, that's
Mm,
not a good idea to me. That's because I did my homework before. So that moment, if it's a very important presentation, is a good moment to relax. So try to relax. And why do you say try to relax? It's like there are different strategies in here. For me, it could be the very few seconds are about breathing. Breathing, 1, 2, 3, inhale, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7 and 8 if you have enough air.
mm,
Exhales. That is helping you to calm down your sympathetic system. Okay, so you go from sympathetic to parasympathetic. You breathe, but you focus on your breath. You don't. Obviously, while you breathe in, the mind is going to think about things, but you go again to the breath. Go again to your breathing. Other people, what they do is that they try to induce oxytocin. Oxytocin is going to relax you, and they think about someone they love, or they think about, or they watch or visualize something which might, bring this oxytocin. I haven't tried that, if I tell you the truth, but it might work for some people.
mm.
Other people, they try to bring endorphins in here, and they do. There's no much time to exercise, go out for a run, but some people they kind of do some wall push-ups or they try to activate themselves. So because you are already aroused, but now it's a message you send to your body. It's like there's a positive arousal you want to instead of the negative arousal. And so there are many strategies. Power posing. It's also very. I've tried this one, and then I combined with breathing. The power posing is like a poor expansive body language. Those people they like soccer. They visualize Cristiano Ronaldo when he score a goal. He do it like this. So you can lock yourself in the bathroom and then power pose and then breathe. Close your eyes. Focus on your breath while you power pose. You can do that for 2 minutes. I've recommended that to students that they had to present and they were very, very, very anxious. And they said that it helped to them. Obviously, you're not going to be like super relaxed, but it's about like not allowing your mind, okay, to bring these negative thoughts about I need to, oh my gosh, this you need to stop that straight away. Okay,
Mm.
that's it.
Yeah, I also agree. I've tried different kinds of body language, and I feel like I can use my body to make myself feel better, and then you perform better as a result of that. But
Hmm.
yeah, and
Yeah.
let's say let's say we get into the presentation. What do you do then? How do you stand? How do you move? What is your recipe?
Hmm. Okay, my first recipe and also a kind of a measure or amazing presenters, good presenters from outstanding, incredible presenters. It is that whether you're going to be in a flow state or not. And what do we mean by a flow state? Are you aware of this? This is the moment of peak performance in which you can lose sense of time, but you're completely focused, and this is a moment of peak happiness. Now, you realize when someone is really presenting because he or she is really giving a gift to the audience, and these people are really, really enjoying the presentation. And this is not about technique. This is about pure passion, but it's not passion for the sake of passion or overdo the passion thing. No, because there are different styles, okay, for people and presentations, but everyone brings his passion in a different way. Now, I see these people that they are really there. Now, but how do you get to there? It's like you need to have a level of confidence. That's for sure. It's not going to happen if you are too aroused. Well, the first recommendation I would say is that your presenting is not about you. Just release your pressure because it's not about you. It's about you preparing an idea that is very important and you're giving a gift to the audience. You cannot control the audience emotions, but you control your own emotions. Once you bring, because if you don't show to me that you care about what you're saying, how the hell am I gonna care?
Mm. True.
All right. So you need to be very convinced because you prepared very well and because you believe that that's a good idea and you prepare that idea. You remember that we did the pre-thing in here. And now you're talking. And don't worry too much about whether you put your hands, about whether you're moving too much or less. Okay. Obviously, there are things that are gonna help you. And what you don't want to do is that fidget or kind of bring lots of nervous tics that they are in you and everyone can see them. But don't worry much about the techniques. Worry about really bringing your best emotion out of your presentation. Now, and this is very important, this is going to come up especially through your voice. Now, when we talk about public speaking, your voice is the most important thing. Let's say
Hmm.
that voice and eye contact, because eye contact is very important as well. Those two things, they're gonna make the 90% of your performance. You have your voice right and your eye contact right, that's it. I don't care how you put your hands. I don't care whether you're moving too much or too less. All right. I would like you, okay, to have a better body language. If you ask me, I would like you to stop more instead of pacing like a lion in a cage. But I'm
Hmm.
okay with that because you have a good voice, you seem confident, and you have a good eye contact.
Mm. And how,
Now, from there, you can ask
yeah,
me about
yes,
different.
please go ahead. I think you're in a
Y-
flow state right now.
Sometimes it happens that you go through so because you have the perfect client or you have the perfect audience. We say the perfect audience, there's a connection with the audience. Now it's not about you having the flow, but it's also having a flow with the audience. The audience is with you, most
Mm,
of them. All
mm,
right. And I think it's not gonna happen if the audience kind of feels that there is a narcissistic speaker that
mm,
he or she speaks for the sake of speaking or for showing up. No, the audience is pretty intelligent
mm,
to yeah, to smell a rat.
mm. So if we went back, you would say that if a person has practiced enough and done, the visualization exercises and they've done all the work, when they get into the actual presentation or when they actually speak, they should not take it as seriously and they should just be natural. Is that what you would recommend?
This is what I recommend, but I always say it's natural. All right. Okay, hold on. Let me
Hmm.
just get into the nuance in here. It's natural, but it is an updated version of yourself. All right.
Mm,
So I'm introvert or I don't kind of work, I'm not very expressive, or all right, I respect that. Or I have this voice, I respect that, but I need you, okay, I need you to bring me an updated version. For example, some people
mm,
they speak low, very low, because they don't have enough decibels in order to speak. I mean, within the voice, there's something we call volume, and you need to speak in a higher volume when you speak in front of a public. This is not the same as you and me now at this moment.
mhm,
For some people, it's really hard. They need to force their voice to a point in which, to them, it might feel like they're screaming, but it's not about what they feel. It's about what the audience feels. And so here my point is that you need to get out of the comfort zone. So it's just like I need to be relaxed. I need to be within my comfort zone. So I need to be authentic. No, no. You need to be authentic, but you need to get out of the comfort zone.
mhm. Yeah,
And
I
that's
do agree.
something you do in training because public speaking is about skills, skills, and skills. And that's it. It's the training and being with the right people helping you, uh, working yourself alone as well, a bit of everything.
Mm. And how would you use that to influence people successfully?
Well, influence is something about building the idea in the right way. We talk about that.
Hmm.
Storytelling is very necessary to influence someone. And so if you want to influence someone just with data, it's not going to be enough.
Mm,
You need to bring data, you need to bring facts, you need to make your research. That's the logos part of your message. But you need to bring the pathos, the emotional part. Uh, what amount of pathos, what amount of logos, always depending on the audience you have in front, but there's always
mhm,
going to be pathos and logos together. So influence is about building the message in the right way, but also now believing in what you're saying
mhm,
and delivering this message with your passion.
mhm,
Okay. And from there, there's not gonna be a guarantee you're gonna influence everywhere. Now, even though I could be in a flow state, even though I could connect with lots of people within the audience for sure, and you need to understand this, you are not gonna influence everyone. That's for sure. That happens to me in class. I have what I say a perfect class, but it's never 100% of the students or the auditorium convince in here or engage. But at least you have an 80%, which is good enough.
mm. True. Let's say I make a lot of mistakes during my presentation. What should I do to bounce? What should I do to bounce back?
Well, that's part of the process. The first thing you need to understand is that it's normal. The moment you're going through a presentation, you make a mistake, and then you say to yourself, sure, I made this mistake. No, you're done.
Mm,
Every moment in which I see people freaking out or choking in public is because they made a mistake, which, by the way, no one thought about it, but because you just brought it in here, or you said in front of the audience, I'm sorry, or now everyone, because you're putting your cards in here, now everyone sees the mistakes. It's like you wanted to make this mistake big, now it's big. Now don't worry about that. The audience, they don't care about that. just go. It's not how you finish, it's how you end. Also, you need to understand that there's no perfect presentation. Every single presentation has mistakes. I've seen TED Talks, uh, the most brilliant TED Talks with millions of visualizations, and you go through the TED Talks 15 minutes and you see lots of mistakes. No problem.
The
Okay,
difference is
so
that they move
don't
on.
worry. Yeah, you just move on, and that's it. Don't, because the audience, they don't care.
Mm, true. It reminds me of something I saw online, and I think they were visualizing it. So, when you think, uh, I think you think that people think a lot about you and your mistakes, like it's a big thing, but how much they actually think is like very small or very little, which I think
Yeah,
encapsulates
that's
this,
it.
that no one really goes as
Maybe
deep
not.
as you.
Yeah, maybe nowadays in social media, everyone being a YouTuber in here, you
Yeah,
editing your videos, you cutting and trimming, and then there's no mistakes because we
yeah,
cut, we edit.
that is
All
true.
right. But in an actual presentation, there's going to be mistakes. And so
Mm,
maybe we have this thinking that, okay, in a video, it needs to be perfect. All right. So we cut it, we edit the video, and then it's perfect. But in a live presentation, and even though it's a live presentation, they are recording you and you cannot edit. Just don't worry about it. Just go with the mistake. But don't overthink about the mistake because the moment you overthink about a mistake, you're done. You're
mm,
gonna have bigger mistakes.
yeah, makes sense. And what about what's your take on humor?
It's a very important thing. And if you can bring humor and people laugh, that's the best connection you can do with your audience. But don't overwork on humor. You don't want to be a comedian. You don't you don't want to be funny for the sake of being funny because it's not going to work. And yet you could and you can prepare your humor parts that you think people are going to laugh, but have a plan B, which means that if people they don't laugh, this joke landed in a perfect way, you just continue.
Mm,
So you can work on your jokes if you think, and by the way, now we're talking about jokes or things that you think are going to be funny. Obviously there are topics that are too sensitive, all right? So you need to, I think the best humor is a type of humor that brings self-depreciation, which by the way is a way for me to level, okay, myself with the audience. Self-depreciation. I think you laugh about yourself.
that's the safest one.
Yeah. Or surreal or situations, awkward situations, not necessarily about self-appreciation, but yeah. Yeah.
I see. Yeah, it's a tough one for me because typically when I present or I speak, I'm very serious
Hmm.
and very, cold. So I mean, a
Yeah.
lot of people told me to like, relax and try to put some humor in, but I don't know. Would you recommend working on humor and jokes beforehand and then maybe testing them out with people in private before taking it?
You could do that.
Yeah.
You could do that. Depending on the presentation, you could do that. But don't overthink about that.
Okay.
Now you're right. I mean, being too serious sometimes, and depending who's the audience, what's the context, it's like you're putting yourself, yeah, you're putting yourself an invisible wall from you and the audience. No, those. I mean, you've been in class. I mean, the professors you like, they were the ones that they were serious, but also very informal, and they knew how and when to joke and when to laugh with the class, at the same time. And so you should try to apply that rule. But I think the best humor comes spontaneously. The moment you relax, so that's a good advice. Try to relax. There's a bit of informality in here that it's important, but also, or always thinking about the audience.
Mm,
Okay. Yeah, I have an audience with the Queen of England. I'm not gonna be here.
mm,
Okay. I need to be more serious.
I see. Yeah, I like that. Centering it around the audience.
Yeah.
Um, and after you're done with, speaking or a presentation, how would you improve? Is there certain things that you do to improve?
I think that you've done this a lot, and there is always improving, and that every context. is going to be every different context is going to be different, and that you never master this whole thing because it doesn't matter how good you are. I'm going to put you in a different place with a different audience with high stakes, and you're gonna feel that you are not you, that you were are not as confident or as informal or as funny and relaxed as you used to be. So there's always improving in here because communication and public speaking is about skills, 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 and skills, and that it's about practice. And that, but let's say that public speaking is half about how you work on your message, and the other half is about how you deliver the message. So my advice is that there's always room to improve. You can see what other people are doing. You can get inspiration for great public speakers or communicators all over the world. And you don't want to copy. That's you have your style, build on your style. But yeah, practice and this. I mean, me myself, I'm never done with this, and I've been in different places, and I thought about like, wow, uh, I'm teaching public speaking. I'm a communication coach, and I'm nervous now. Yeah, but that's something. It's something normal. Yeah,
True. Yeah, I think that's the simplest advice. You get better at what you practice. So the more you practice public
yeah,
speaking, the better you're gonna get
yeah,
at it. And I
yeah,
think it's an infinite, unlimited thing that you can always get better and better at it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think
Yeah.
this idea of excellence. There's no one. There's never an ending line when we talk about excellence.
Mm.
So that's it.
Yeah. There's no finish line. And what about applying this to online settings? Because, after COVID, I mean, even during COVID, but after COVID as well, a
Hmm.
lot of things moved online. What is your take on speaking online? Because, a lot of people cannot see the entirety of your body. So, and, they can't see you move
Hmm.
because you're usually very still.
Yeah,
So what is your
yeah.
take on that?
So my take on this is that we talk about the importance of the voice. Now
Mm,
it's triple important. So it's going to be even more important. And also it's about interacting, if it's possible, interacting more with the audience. Now there are thousands of reasons for every single member in the audience when you're presenting online to get distracted. That's it. You are in a meeting, and there are hundreds of things that are going to get you distracted, okay, even though you don't want. So how can you engage? So again, you need to understand that you need to kind of enhance everything we said in here. You need to enhance it more because now it's so for example, you need to bring more stories, or you need to bring a better visualization. Your voice needs to be more powerful. You cannot read, you cannot sound monotone. Now the eye contact it's not a big thing because I might be reading something, but you might get that I have a perfect eye contact, but I'm not. I'm reading, but because I'm reading, I sound monotone. I sound now myself as I'm reciting, and this is not good. So it's about the voice again and the passion. Now there's something which with happens in Zoom meetings is like, which by the way doesn't happen in live presentations, is that I have the feeling that the people they can read better slides or yeah slides while you're presenting. You're presenting and you have a problem with more text. Okay,
mm,
it's easier when you are online to do this kind of multitask thing than when
true.
you are there in live presenting and then having fully charged slides with lots of text that aren't helping because people cannot do both reading and listening to you. But in Zoom meetings, yeah, you can have a bit more text. That's one thing.
Mm,
So visuals are also very important. Very
mm,
important because they help you, they enhance the message, even more important than live presentations.
mm,
Um, and I would say that's it. That's the Zoom meeting. Then there's video, and in video, we know different versions, different styles about the video. No, video
What
now is
is,
about looking to the camera, but yeah,
yeah, no, I
yeah.
totally
Well,
agree.
everywhere, everywhere. yeah, everyone is a pod, no, no, sorry, everyone is a YouTuber now. Everyone, so edit their own videos. Everyone knows already how to do a good video. But it's just that I see people that they not necessarily because you are in video and you're doing it a lot, like you're very good at communicating in video.
Mm,
For some people, it's harder. For some people, it's easier. So be you there in front of a camera and you don't get the energy from the audience is harder, but for other people it's easier because the audience is so freaked. Okay, so uh, yeah, stress for them, but yeah, and then with the video you have the opportunity to edit. So yeah, I wouldn't say much about that.
I see. And yeah, I think I agree. A lot of people are communicating on social media. It is the age of the personal brand where everyone's trying to build their own brand
Yeah,
with speaking and appearing on podcasts and starting podcasts like myself. So how do you see the future panning out? What is your prediction? Are there going to be a lot of more, speakers out there? Is this really going to be blow up? Because right now I see that a lot of long form written things like publications and books and things like that. I think AI can make that for you very easily, right? But with speaking,
yeah.
it could be a bit different. What is your take on that?
No, everyone a personal brand, everyone bringing ideas on top of the table. It's going to produce as it's producing now. It's a lot. There's lots of noise. No one is
Yeah.
relevant, right? So
Mm,
you asking me this, and my response is that there's something is called attribution bias. And attribution bias says that the same message it doesn't influence the same depending on the context or the package or who's saying or who's bringing the message. All right, I
mm,
think the Washington Post discovered this years ago when they ran an experiment and they asked Joshua Bell, the best violinist player in the world, earning different Grammy awards, and I don't know, charging like $400, for a basic ticket in a concert. And so they asked Joshua Bell if he was willing to do an experiment with them. And they thought about this. And do you think people are gonna recognize the beauty of Joshua Bell playing first time in the morning in the metro station in Washington? All
mm.
right, so in a very business area.
Yeah.
And so they put there Joshua Bell first time in the morning, 7 o'clock, and he was dressed in a casual fashion and he was playing his best pieces for 45 minutes.
Mm,
1,047 people passed that day. How many people really stopped? And how much money he collected? So seven people stop. I think one or two people recognize him and he collected like $32, something like that. People didn't care. Now, that same people, they would next day go to the music hall, the concert, and pay $400 to see Joshua Bell. So my point in here, and I'm bringing you this story, is that it is about the context as well. And you're gonna do lots of things, but because there's lots of noise, yeah, the context, it is important. And so where do you place the message? How do you place the message? Who says so? Yeah. So and it's not easy, okay, to influence in the context, if I tell you the truth. You can
mm,
be the best communicator in the world, you can bring the best idea in the world, but no one knows you because you are a nobody, like I am a nobody, all right? You can build on that, you can work on that, you can get more influence because people they like what you're doing and there's more people, there are more followers, blah blah blah, but you don't build this from one day to another. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say about context, but we should ask marketing people. They are experts on this. But yeah,
No, no,
context matters a great deal.
I, I totally agree. I think context matters. It's a lot of variables together. Like you have to do the work because um, I think anyone can say stuff on the internet. It's very easy to say and very easy to, put information out with the help of AI. But if you actually haven't done the work yourself about what you're talking about, then no one's going to believe you, and it's going to show in time that you actually have very surface level
Yeah,
knowledge. So I think deep work
yeah,
and then it's the test of time and effort.
yeah,
Super.
yeah.
Super,
That's it.
Arturo. It was an absolute joy talking to you. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
Thanks to you. Thanks to you.